When you ask any current or previous Formula One driver who they think is the best of them all, who would they say? Would it be Schumacher, Prost, Fangio, Hamilton? Well, the answer is none of those drivers. In their honest opinions, the best F1 driver ever is Ayrton Senna. But why might they think this? To find out, we will go back in time to look at the life of Ayrton Senna and why he's so beloved by fans and drivers alike even today. Since I am an avid motor racing enthusiast, I feel that I am required and well informed to talk about Ayrton Senna because of how much he meant to the motorsport world. Not only was he an idol in the world of motorsport, but he was also an idol of the people of Japan, and especially his home country, Brazil, where they saw him as more than just a racing driver. Today, we will find out about all of these and more as we look back at one of the most competitive and influential people in Formula One. Before Ayrton Senna could win any of his 3 world championships, he had to get into Formula One. That also included getting onto one of the best teams on the grid. Ayrton Senna da Silva was born on March 21, 1960 in Sao Paulo, Brazil. When Ayrton was only 4 years old, he became obsessed with the world of motorsport. When Ayrton was 13, he won his first race in his first start in a go-kart. When he moved into single-seater racing in 1981, he won 5 championships in 3 years. He was able to enter his first F1 race in 1984 at the famous Monaco Grand Prix. In that race, he finished second from the 13th starting position in torrential rain behind his future rival Alain Prost. After the promising talent that he showed at the Monaco Grand Prix, Senna realized that he had to get into better teams by showing everyone in Formula One that he had true talent, and not with his family's surplus of money. So, in 1985, Senna decided to move to the Lotus F1 team so that he could be in a more competitive car. During his 3 seasons with Lotus from 1985 to 1987, Senna won pole 16 times and the race victory 6 times. However, the point at which Senna had joined Lotus was when the team was starting to decline in competitiveness, so Senna had to move to another team, McLaren. During his 6-year run with McLaren from 1988 to 1993, he won 35 races and 3 world championships. His driving skills showed predominantly at Monaco, where he would gather the most amount of wins at one track at. However, during his time at McLaren, he started a bitter rivalry with his teammate Alain Prost. In 1988, Senna took the championship after the McLaren team won 15 out of the 16 races that season. In 1989, the Prost-Senna rivalry, however, reached its peak. A prime example of this was at the Japanese Grand Prix, where he crashed into Prost into the final chicane going for the race lead with 8 laps to go. It led to Senna's disqualification in the race and gave Prost the world championship. In 1990, Prost decided to move to Ferrari because he views Senna's driving being, quote, dangerous. At the 1990 Japanese Grand Prix, the FIA stewards decided to not give Senna the racing line to start on. Therefore, Senna decided that the race had to be done, quote, his way. The likely result of this was that Senna and Prost both crashed out of the race into Turn 1, which gave Senna the world championship. In 1991, Senna was able to win in his home country of Brazil for the first time in Formula One. Senna's celebration was quite noteworthy since he screamed over the radio, then passed out, and then on the podium he was barely able to hold up the winning trophy because he had muscle spasms. Senna also won the championship in 1991. In 1992 and 1993, the Williams team was now the more dominant car, with Senna only being more dominant than the team in a few of the races in 1993. When Prost left Williams after that season, Senna decided to take the open seat at Williams for the 1994 season. Because of this, the final race in Australia was not only Prost and Senna's last podium together, but also Senna's last win. Before the 1994 season, the FIA had banned traction control and all other electronics in the cars, which led to cars becoming less stable and more prone to spinning and having accidents. This played a major factor in what was Senna's final race at the San Marino Grand Prix in Imola, Italy. Before the race on Sunday, there were 2 major accidents. Rubens Barrichello on Friday, which resulted in minor injuries, and Roland Ratzenberger on Saturday, which resulted in his death. Despite the dark tone that was already set, the race continued, which resulted in the death of Ayrton Senna on lap 7 from a suspension arm to the head. Also, any camera shot that was taken of Senna's injuries or car has not been made public due to the consent of the Senna family. To this day, nobody can even figure out what exactly caused the crash. The people of Brazil were devastated by the death of Ayrton Senna because they idolized Senna for his talent and generosity, and so were Senna's other fans everywhere else in the world. Many fans and drivers alike also respect Senna because he disliked the severity of injuries in Formula One, especially if they resulted in death. He called attention to things like tire barriers, where he would point out that if someone hits the tires, it would be likely that the cars will roll over. The most famous incident where he showed concern was at the 1992 Belgian Grand Prix, where driver Ayrton crashed and his throttle was stuck wide open. Senna then stopped his car, jumped out, and turned off his engine, which leads to Comas believing that because of Senna's gracious attitude that day, Ayrton Senna saved his life. At the end of it all, Ayrton Senna is rightfully regarded as one of the greats of Formula One. From his childhood to Formula One and even his legacy after his death, many saw the talent that he had and how much passion he had for his talent. He also was beloved by so many people around the world, especially by his home country, and it helped him become as influential as he was in places like Brazil. I think we can see now why even some of the great drivers of Formula One still see Ayrton Senna as the greatest of all time. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you could see the importance of Ayrton Senna both on the inside and outside of the racing world.